This is what I wanted. I wanted to be here. I just can't. Thank you to the Bulls organization. I'm ready to work, man. I was born for this.
It doesn't take much to win me over as a fan. If you just bring passion, emotion, and energy, and it's clear that you want to be here and play for my team, then you're all right in my book. And it's the little things like this, showing the emotion the moment his name was called with the 11th pick, knowing he was going to be playing for the team he grew up watching, playing in front of the hometown fans, and then coming over for his interview saying this is what he wanted, where he wanted to be, how he was born for this. I love it. And you know, after losing a player like Alex Caruso, who fits the mold of the players I love, who bring passion and energy and play every game like it's their last, to bring in a guy that we can actually look forward to watching and what he's able to bring on the court makes it just a little bit easier to be a Bulls fan right now in an otherwise hard time for us all. But anyway, if you caught my video from last night, I did a very brief reaction to the Bulls selecting Matas Buzelis with the 11th pick. But in this video, I wanted to do a more in-depth look at Buzelis, who he is as a player, and what he can bring to the Bulls, as well as what this selection actually means for the Bulls' future going forward. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. We're actually almost at 40,000 subscribers, and I would greatly appreciate it. Now, I tweeted this last night. I tweeted a lot last night, actually, but as the Bulls pick drew closer and closer, and we started getting a sense of the players that were still on the board, I kept thinking there's no way that Buzelis is going to slide all the way to 11. Like, in my mind, even if Buzelis did in fact slide a bit later than anticipated, there was no way that he was falling out of the top 10. I thought for sure he was going to go top 5, at the latest 7th. And then we saw Donovan Clingan go 7, Dillingham 8th, Zach Edey 9th. None of those guys, by the way, are ones that I wanted, and Clingan and Edey especially were players I wanted the Bulls to avoid. And I thought, okay, if Matas Buzelis is going to be picked up at 10 and the Bulls are going to take Cody Williams at 11. But sure enough, the Jazz picked up Cody Williams 10th, and Buzelis was theirs for the taking. And yes, part of me kind of wishes they took Nikola, as he was projected to be the best prospect coming out of this draft and #1 on most mock boards leading up to the draft before he got injured. And yeah, there was Devin Carter, who would have been nice as well, but Matas Buzelis falling all the way to 11. I just don't know how you don't take him there. I mean, there was talk about the Bulls potentially looking to trade up to get this kid. And I kept saying, is this really the draft class that you want to trade up to get a certain player? Does it really make sense in a weak draft class, in a draft that has been so unpredictable, where the guy you want just might actually slide to your original pick? When it was reported the Bulls were looking to trade up to get Buzelis, I was more open to that than trading up to get Donovan Clingan. I am not high on Clingan at all. Sure, if he fell to 11 and Buzelis wasn't there, okay, yeah, maybe take him. But to trade up for a player who is pretty slow-footed, can't shoot, isn't athletic, and has very poor endurance, yeah, I'm going to pass on that. But anyway, about Matas Buzelis, I mean, there's a lot to like about this kid. 19 years old, 6'9" power forward, 6'10" wingspan. He's pretty versatile offensive player who can play make in the open court, handle the ball, good court vision and IQ, but also play off the ball in the catch and shoot. You know, while he didn't shoot well in his season for the G League Ignite, shooting only 27% from deep, he has a really good stroke and shot over 40% in high school. So you hope this was just an isolated off year for the Ignite where his role wasn't as clearly defined and that team in general struggled. Honestly, I think it's why he fell so far in the draft, because teams were concerned about his shooting, which shooting is kind of everything in this league. He's pretty athletic. He has great leaping ability, has a lob threat, which that's kind of music to the Bulls' ears when they just traded for Josh Giddey, who is a high-level playmaker and great in the pick and roll. Matas Buzelis is also a pretty solid interior defender off the ball. I mean, he shows upside as a great rim protector, averaged over 2 blocks per game for the Ignite, can rebound well, and again, the big positive in all of this, the Bulls got a player with size. They didn't draft a guard, which I don't know how they could have justified with the current roster that they have. I know a lot of people wanted Devin Carter, and I do think Carter is probably more NBA ready than Buzelis, but Matas projects to have a much higher upside, and there is a role for him already on the Bulls, which wouldn't have been the case with Carter. Now, the downsides to Matas, well, of course, his shooting. Like I said, you'd have to hope that last season was just an off year for him, but his three-point shooting, the three-point line, is going to be further out in the NBA. How well is he actually going to be able to shoot it from deep? And the Bulls need that added floor spacing. He is also a bit prone to turnovers, like he's often called a point forward because of his ball handling ability, but he does get a little too cute with the ball sometimes and has a fairly high turnover rate. While his off-ball defense, help defense is solid, he's not the best when playing on-ball defense and often gets beat off the dribble and drives to the bucket. And then I've seen some people call this out already. Obviously, he needs to put on some weight, get stronger. He's very lengthy right now and just a little underweight at 200 pounds. But again, he's 19. A lot of muscle and strength will come with time as he gets older. Some mock comparisons that have been made. I've seen Lamar Odom, Franz Wagner, Hito Turkoglu, and I've seen some mock boards. I believe Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer said that in one of his mini mock drafts leading up to last night that Buzelis could very well end up becoming the best player from this draft when all is said and done. This, of course, when he had Buzelis projected to go 4 or 5, not 11. So look, I know it's so early to say this, and we obviously have to see Buzelis show up in the big leagues. And yes, I know this is very biased of me to say, but given actually how critical I've been of the Bulls in some of their recent draft moves, maybe it's not so biased, but this was a pretty big steal for the Bulls to land Matas Buzelis with the 11th pick. Like, I was trying to go through the host of mock drafts leading up to the draft tonight from ESPN, SB Nation, The Ringer, CBS, NBC, the guys over at CHGO. Not a single one of them had Buzelis falling outside of the top 10. Now, how does Buzelis fit with the Bulls and their team as well as their overall direction? Well, first and foremost, this is going to be a good fit player alongside Josh Giddey. A lob threat with the elite level playmaker who operates well in the pick and roll. That really hasn't been something the Bulls have had for a while in a duo, like in over a decade. Bulls have either had non-playmaking point guards or unathletic non-lob threat big men. And now they've been able to acquire both in the span of a week in this offseason. I know some are probably saying, well, won't this conflict with Patrick Williams, who's going to start at the 4 because neither is a 5? I actually think that Matas can fit well with Pat overall. They're both long, athletic wings, multi-positional defenders off the ball. Buzelis will hopefully enable Pat to play along the perimeter more, and people forget Pat played the 3 in his rookie season. Now, he's gotten bigger as a player since then and is probably best suited to play the 4, but these guys can play off each other, especially in a more positionless-centric game that this league is heading towards. I also think that it's going to be highly unlikely that Matas Buzelis is going to start in his rookie season. But in general, this gives the Bulls more size, which they need, better rim protection, rebounding, which they need, and youth, which kind of leads me into my point as far as what the selection means for the future of this franchise. So the Bulls drafted a 19-year-old, a player that is more of a project and not as NBA ready as some of the other guys in this class who were still on the board at 11, guys like Devin Carter, Dalton Connect, Ryan Dunn, Tristan Da Silva, and had the Bulls selected one of those guys with Buzelis still on the board, that would have led me to believe, okay, they're still trying to compete. But after trading Caruso for a 21-year-old Josh Giddey, they now draft a 19-year-old prospect with a high upside. They've still got Patrick Williams, who is only 22. Coby White and Io are both 23. Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry also in their early 20s. You're starting to see this shift in a youth movement and pivot in a new direction. Now, AK did address the media after the draft and was asked about the direction that this franchise is going in. He said that that will become more clear in the next week or two after they get through free agency, and maybe there is a world where they sort of view this as a bit of a retool and keeping the core in place, but yeah, I don't see how they do that. And honestly, with the reports coming out that contract negotiations between DeMar and the Bulls have gone cold, you'd have to think he's likely seeing the writing on the wall and looking to play elsewhere where he leaves in free agency or the Bulls try and work out a sign and trade of some kind. And if DeMar is gone, that really puts the rebuild in full effect. Yeah, maybe Vucevic stays because they're likely, unable to find a trade partner for him. They dump Zach LaVine, and then yeah, this is kind of the start of a rebuild. I didn't want to go through a rebuild. I still don't really want to go through another rebuild because it's painful to watch as a fan considering we just exited one recently. But at the same time, we knew this team wasn't going anywhere. And with the drafting of Buzelis, the Bulls now getting Josh Giddey, and now more likely the ability to keep their pick in 2025 with it being top 10 protected, you can now build upon that when it was just a few months ago how the Bulls were being viewed as a team with one of the bleakest futures in the NBA. Now that has shifted. Still a lot of work to do, obviously, and the Bulls really have to hit and maximize any value in the form of trades or free agency signings. They have to use any and all leverage they can get. Like if Mikal Bridges can get 5 first-round picks and Denny Avdija can get 2 first-round picks, you should be able to pry something away for Zach LaVine. Don't let it be a situation where you settle in a straight trade like they did for Alex Caruso. Did you all see, by the way, the Thunder trading 5 second-round picks to the Knicks for the 26th pick in this draft? 5 second-round picks for a player who hasn't even played in the NBA. And the Bulls got 0 picks for an all-defensive team player who shoots 40% from 3. Just unbelievable. But I'll table that for now. Let me know how you guys are feeling about Matas Buzelis, and let's see how day 2 of the draft goes if the Bulls try and make their way into the second round. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.